I'd make about 70 flights a year. I'd want to buy some things that I thought would look great, and I'd come home without them because I thought if I paid the stranger, I'm ever going to see this product ever again. So it was really a kind of a me problem, and I wanted to figure out if other people having the same problem as well.
Today's guest is Leroy Lawrence, founder of Pidgey, an AI-powered marketplace app transforming how shops and individuals handle international shipping, making it easier to connect globally and ensure products reach their destinations effortlessly.
What are the problems you're trying to solve?
I soon realised that actually this is more of a B2B problem than a customer problem. So I needed to acquire someone who has that problem every single day. So we had to immediately spin it around and look at it from the merchant's point of view as well. From my experience, I found that lots of entrepreneurs do not need external validation so much. And it might be that they are completely delusional, but it's not that bad to be a little bit delusional if you are ultimately creating something that doesn't exist yet. Everything that is instrumental to your business working, go out and just do it slowly first, like test it out, see all the mechanics that it works in a slow way, and then figure out how you can recreate it and put it on steroids.
What are the things that you would pass on to somebody who is on a similar journey or wanted to be on a similar journey?
If you're a first-time founder especially, first of all,
I have got such an exciting episode of Founder Stories for you today. I am joined in person by a young founder, but don't be fooled by that. He's a serial entrepreneur and multiple exits, and he is the CEO and founder of Pidgey. So welcome, Leroy Lawrence. Just had to say that slowly so I didn't fall over my own tongue there. Thank you so much for joining us. So the company is Pidgey.
Yep, that's right.
And you are the only founder? Do you have co-founders?
No co-founder, just
yourself.
the founder.
Yeah, okay. So tell me and tell everybody listening about Pidgey. What are the problems you're trying to solve?
So Pidgey is an AI shipping assistant, a bit of a new made-up term for for sending things places. Originally, Pidgey was just a first world problem that I had. I was just a disgruntled customer. I was traveling a lot. Company I used to work for, I'd make about 70 flights a year. I would always find myself in interesting places, whether it was in China or Asia or other parts of Europe. I'd want to buy some things that I thought would look great in my living room or kitchen at home. And time again, I'd come home without them because I thought if I paid the stranger some money, am I going to get a good quote? Are they going to put the product back on the shelf? Am I ever going to see this product ever again? So I wouldn't buy it. And sometimes I'd even buy some paintings, for example, roll them up, put them under my arm, take them home. As soon as I get home, unroll them, ruined pretty much every single time. So it was really a kind of a me problem. And I wanted to figure out if other people were having the same problem as well.
Yeah, I think some of the most interesting problems that we've come across, certainly from these discussions, started with the person themselves. And I think that if you've walked in the shoes of the customer, that really does accelerate your journey to finding like product market fit. Have you found that?
Yeah, very much. And then not too long into that, when I'd done some research, I soon realized that actually this is more of a B2B problem than a customer problem. So there was a supply of customers who needed this to be solved, but the people who use it every single day were actually the merchants, because every day someone's walking into their shop and saying, I would buy it, but am I really going to get this product back at home? Compared to you or I as a tourist who has this problem once or twice every year, I needed to acquire someone who has that problem every single day. So we had to immediately spin it around and look at it from the merchant's point of view as well.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So you had this issue, you're disgruntled, and because you've got such an entrepreneurial brain, and I'm sure you're always looking for ideas about tech that you can build, which we'll go into in a second. You've thought, okay, I've got a problem. I don't think anyone's trying to solve this. I'm going to create something focused on people like me, consumers that are having the same issue. And then at some point in that journey, you've decided to flip to B2B. So tell us about how you did that and what was that process like, because I know that's something that others will trying to be a shift they'll be trying to make as well.
So it's really easy to become so passionate about something that you become blind to it, and it's very difficult to verify to figure out which one's right and which one's not right. So I'm passionate about business in general. I like things to work, but I wasn't obsessed with it necessarily being like a B2C play. So it wasn't too difficult for me to say, actually, hold on a second, the data is saying otherwise. We need to look at it from a different kind of customer to acquire. It was never going to work, in fact, if we'd stuck with the B2C play, because like I said, the initial issue is that it's only a problem that we have once or twice a year. If I spend £50 or $50 acquiring you or I as a customer, I've now got to spend that again to reacquire you next year. It's a really weak economic model. So that initial pivot was easy to do. Then I had to learn to understand that type of customer, that merchant. And we're not just talking about merchants who are in London or an environment that I know. It's about merchants who are in environments that are very, very foreign to me, and understanding their motivators, understanding if the problem that someone's having in Bali, how similar is it to someone having that same problem in Cabo or in Bangkok as well, and trying to figure out those bits of the story that are same that I can then imitate globally. Because also I didn't want to make a business that would just do well in one particular place. I'm trying to make a global, scalable business. And so, yeah, that's how I had to kind of look at it from that perspective.
And so what about from a kind of marketing perspective? Because if you're trying to reach lots of different types of customer in global locations, how were you able to bring that together and actually talk to them from a marketing perspective?
So I had to first figure it out in one location, which was in Bali. And so I put out an advert on like social media, Instagram, that kind of thing, saying if anyone's looking for a sales job, to reply to this advert. I'll train you up for the day. I'll take you around the market to get to know it. And obviously, most people in Bali do or can speak English, but if you want to really get through that language barrier properly and culturally, you need people who are from there to kind of be on site, understand what your product is and how to sell it and how to communicate. And so I wanted to not be treated just like a tourist, which is like smiles and yeah, sure, come in. So I originally hired 5 or 6 people from Bali, trained them up one morning in my villa, and then we just hit the street. We just went around knocking on every single shop that we thought might be a suitable client for Pidgey. Our product hadn't been worked out at all yet.
Amazing. I love that.
But I got tons and tons of feedback on the go. Instead of me just guessing, there were lots of things I'd guessed wrong, and we were getting immediate feedback from them. So I wasn't really trying to make money, fortunately. That particular time, I was just trying to get as many data points as I could. And that's what we did. We just kind of went around and learned loads and loads we onboarded, I think, within that week or so, about 50 merchants who understood the value proposition. There were things they didn't like about what we're doing, so therefore we changed them to suit. And we went away, improved the product, and came back for another pilot later on.
And you just replicated that in different countries, maybe slight tweaks here and there?
Slightly longer journey than that. So we then improved our product, went back to market again, reduced how many salespeople we had to just one guy who had worked at FedEx before. We onboarded about 250 in the same period of time with just one person. So we cut through the fat quite a lot there. But then when I got back to England at one point, I thought, right, how am I really going to multiply this whole procedure instead of me just sitting in a foreign country for 9 months to break even? One of my colleagues, Nixon, had actually figured out that why don't we just create an academy, an online training course. So all the learnings we'd gained, we put it into this course. We allowed people to apply from different parts of the world, gave them the right motivators that it's financially beneficial for them. They applied, they did the course, they were now experts to an extent in this particular field, and they would go out in their local region where they spoke the language, they knew the culture, and they would onboard clients. So we went up to about 2,000 clients really quickly doing that. And we were still working on the product. The product was still nowhere near a kind of feasible,
Wow.
functional product. But, business is as much about distribution as it is about your product. And if we just got the product right and not done distribution, it would have failed. These are things I've learned from experience. It would have failed later on down the line. We couldn't figure out why. So I kind of was multitasking between the fail points in a business, and distribution was a really, really important one to do. And that academy allowed us to, again, pick up tons and tons of data from all around the world and to kind of spread this scalable message really, really efficiently as well.
You're making something that sound really easy that I'm suspecting wasn't that easy. And I think in a second we'll go back and talk more about how you ended up where you are, because you've obviously had a lot of experience around business, and these aren't decisions that you just wake up one morning in a corporate job and decide to make. And so I'm interested in that. But before we do, let's stay on Pidgey just for a second so we can actually understand what the product is today. So talk to us about how it works, like when would I need to use Pidgey?
So currently we have a web-based platform and an app. The app is our kind of pride and joy. The app is for offline users. The web version is for online users. So the app was the original version. It might be that you walk into a shop. We've had some people, had someone in South Africa recently. They walked into a shop. They'd heard of Pidgey. The merchant hadn't heard of Pidgey, and they said, "Look, I really want to buy this painting. Too big. Do you guys use Pidgey?" They were like, "What's Pidgey? I haven't heard of it before." So they actually got the merchant to download the app. Then they paid for it with the Pidgey app. They taught the merchant through it. They kind of spread the gospel for us a bit. And yeah, that was it. That transaction was completed. Was sent home. They can either take a picture of the product, or they can just put in the dimension description of it, and it's all insured. The merchant can't withdraw their payment until it's been collected by one of our shipping partners as well. So they're both kind of satisfied that they're getting what they want. The merchant's getting a sale that they were not going to get if they weren't able to offer Pidgey as well. That's our kind of offline use. Also, with on the payment side, you can do contactless payment as well. Lots of merchants, especially for our merchants in Morocco, almost no one has a bank account or uses digital payments at all. But now they can just accept all kinds of payments, whether it's Apple Pay, Google Pay, and then just transfer into a bank account or into a local way they can withdraw money basically and accept higher amounts of money. And our online web version it's more of a traditional multi-carrier. We've had lots of people contact us saying, "I really like other multi-carriers." I want to say multi-carrier, as in you've got FedEx, DHL, all the kind of companies plugged into your platform for better pricing. But A was broken, B was broken, C was too complicated. So we just fixed all of those things that were wrong with the other ones and allow people to use our platform to plug it straight into your e-commerce, whether it's Shopify or WooCommerce. Also, if you don't want to pay for it, you want someone else to pay for that shipment. Maybe you're an expat, someone from back home wants to organize it, but you're rich, you're living in London, why don't you pay for it? They can just send you a link and you'll pay for it. So we kind of move a lot of things around which don't seem too much like rocket science, but actually based on the data we've got in, make a big difference to our users.
There's lots going on there in one product. So you've got the e-commerce platforms, you've got the carriers themselves, you've got insurers, you've got all sorts of complexity. I don't know if you do anything in Africa. It's like kind of very complex in terms of payment methods and things like that. How are you doing that from a technical perspective? Is this where the AI comes into Pidgey AI?
I wish AI could do most of that. The AI side is more on the front end of our app version, because we found that, like, you and I might look at something like Amazon and think this is really straightforward and simple. You've been using it for so long, but lots of merchants in emerging markets would find that extremely difficult, complicated to use. They don't like to use their smartphones. They just have a traditional feature phone. So we had to get through that. Just rolling back a little bit. So our salespeople would go into a shop. They would go through it with them once. They'd do a transaction. Everyone's happy. Salesperson would go home. Next day, phone call. "Hey, I've got a customer in. How do I use it again?" So that wasn't really working. So with the conversational AI, which is really fortunate for us, you can just talk to our app now. So you can just say, "Look, I want to send this painting." "Sure. How big is it? Where's it going to?" All the key information you need, you can just talk to it. Don't need to press anything. Just literally talk to it. And everything gets arranged, including your commercial invoices. It prepares and understands your customs, duties, taxes, tariffs, all that kind of stuff just from talking to it. It knows where you are. It knows where you're sending it to. So that's where AI really comes in to kind of turn on those merchants who would love to use it, but too complicated. Now we've made it simple enough for them to use. On the back end, logistics is, and I'm not from a logistics background, so how I think things should be is not how things are at all. It's really complicated, but for no reason at all. There's so much going on in the background of a multi-carrier business. And luckily for us, we've got some really experienced people in our team now who were there right at the beginning of the whole creation of this multi-carrier platform, which fills in the blanks on my experience and my knowledge of it. There are powers at play. The reasons why logistics is not as simple as it can be is because a lot of the big players don't want the power to be moved out of their hand into the hands of others. But we want our customers to have access to the best pricing for whatever they're currently doing. So there is a lot of kind of technological leaps and cheat codes you have to do to make things work, which you only gain from experience. So it is really complicated. It doesn't need to be complicated, but we've got some really experienced people, fortunately, who can figure it out.
I think a knowledge of that sector as well is quite important. I used to be strangely obsessed with the logistics sector. I actually started my working life working for a multi-carrier, and I loved how when everybody was asleep, the whole world came to life, and there was kind of, at that point, probably robots now, but at that point, there's kind of forklift trucks flying around huge warehouses in Birmingham doing the changeovers and everything. I used to just find it totally fascinating, but very manual. So it's good to see that you're kind of trying to,
I can't stand that. The whole manual side of it.
yeah.
I mean, my background is really from capital markets and trading and the stock market and that kind of stuff. And I like everything to be repeatable, automated. I want to figure out all the levers of the business, how much commission can be made in every transaction, what are the risks, and how can we just automate everything is what I'm always trying to do. So when I see so many manual things happening, it really rubs me the wrong way. I have to fix it
Gone
immediately.
into a business that's just going to piss you off,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. Yeah, it is.
You've mentioned your background, so let's go there now. In fact, let's go skip a few years and go a bit further back. I hope you didn't mind in the intro there. I introduced you as a young founder. For somebody that's had multiple businesses, you do come across as quite young, and you've obviously gone into foundership and entrepreneurship quite early in life. So talk to us about kind of where you came from in terms of education, and how did that shape the decisions to go into entrepreneurship?
I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I come from a standard working class family. I went to a state comprehensive. I can only think of maybe one other successful entrepreneur from my school that I know of. Maybe there's some others I don't know. I think I did pretty well academically. I was always top one or two in my school, but then again, I also went to a state comprehensive. Not to say that people at state comprehensives are not equally as clever as everyone else, because they definitely are. But just the standards of results are never going to be as good as your private schools or your grammar schools. And so, yeah, I wasn't around entrepreneurs. I think when I was 7, I set up a little business, as lots of future entrepreneurs do, just selling movie posters and that kind of stuff from I'd seen going in the local movie
Pretty
box.
early. I've had some 14, 15s sat there, but I think
Yeah.
7 is the winner. I think 7's
Oh,
definitely
really? Okay.
the first
Good. I like
one.
to
Yeah.
win. So I set that up. I remember I got shut down by the headmaster. He was just saying you should be concentrating on school, not business. Got shut down in the end. But so I was outside the school in the end.
Closed you down. Wow. That's, if there's any teachers listening or head teachers, please don't do that, because
Yeah,
that's something that should be nurtured surely in our children if they're showing that spirit so early on.
yeah, definitely. But I also understand that the mindset of an entrepreneurial person and someone who's a salariat, someone who earns a salary, is, I'm not sure if it's natural, but it's definitely different.
Ah, interesting.
That's for sure.
Yeah, this is something that we talk about quite a lot on this show. I think the general consensus up until now, and please, don't go along with it if you disagree, but I think the general consensus is that whilst everybody's different, we all have different backgrounds, different drivers, there are certain synergies between founders, and certain traits that we'll see with absolutely everybody that has been successful running businesses. And actually, those little stories of, oh, when I was a kid, I was started a business or selling sweets out of my rucksack, or we've had all manner of different mini entrepreneurs chat to us. That's quite common as well. The fact that so early suggests that there's something in our wiring that starts to come out at a very, very early age without us being conditioned into being founders. I don't know whether you've got any thoughts on that.
Definitely. I might be wrong. I might be wrong, but I think that the one thing that differentiates between someone who works someone who works himself is actually the need for external validation. If you need someone to tell you you're going to be promoted, you're worthy of this salary now, you're worthy of, you're really smart, you're a pat on the back all the time throughout life. If you're someone who needs external validation, it might motivate you to actually do really well in your job or in academia as well. But from my experience, I found that lots of entrepreneurs do not need external validation so much. And it might be that they are completely delusional, which I think is also a fair argument for lots of founders, but it's not that bad to be a little bit delusional if you are ultimately creating something that doesn't exist yet. So, and for me, I've never felt that I've really needed validation from anyone for anything. When someone tells me I can't do something, at best it motivates me more, but I'm generally just indifferent. to someone saying I can't do something. I've felt that way for a very long time about business and about life, to be honest with you. So I might be just going down the hole into oblivion,
Yeah.
which is where the delusional bit comes into. But I try and double check the walls of reality with what I'm doing, which is check the market, check the interest, check the competition, those sort of things. But like I said, you are creating something that didn't exist. There's no roadmap to follow. There's no one to tell you that, oh, you've done really well, I'm going to promote you to this position now. You have to just accept that you are making up. And also everything you get wrong is wonderful, because now you just don't do that again. The money you spent on external people who told you, oh, we can fix this problem for you really quickly. Every founder you'll ever meet, they might want to deny it, but there would have been a point where they gave money to someone that they shouldn't have given to try and fix something in a quicker way. And you just hope that you become stubborn enough not to do it again in the future, as tempting as it is. But yeah, you just have to. I think that external validation is one of the core differences.
And you've replaced that with data now, by the sounds of things. That's where you get your kind of pat on the back from, is the data saying this is the right decision. What about when it's the times that it's not been the right decision, and that maybe how many businesses have you been involved in now, Leroy?
A lot.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many.
Yeah, so you've lost
Quite a
count
few.
of the businesses.
Yeah.
And talk to us about, not to be negative, but I think it really helped people. So talk to us about some failures.
I don't even use the word failure, to be honest with you. Just did something else in the end. Yeah. Because the businesses I've made the most money out of aren't here today, but they're our most successful businesses. So it wouldn't be right for me to call it a failure.
Yeah.
But
Where have you fallen down along the way? Well, tripped up, essentially.
the business that made me the most money, the way it went wrong in the end was that it was a regulated business. I was being told, don't worry, everything will be fine. A company we were connected to had been closed down during credit crunch, and we were being told, don't worry, you're back on the books again, like 48 hours. This went on for about 6 months. I had 23 staff. This is during credit crunch, so everyone's going through financial turmoil at that time. Not me, however. I'm having a great time up until that moment in time. And so my kind of good moral standing was, I don't want to let everyone down. I was 28 years old. I was thinking about everyone else's mortgage and everyone else's problems, because when you run a business, you've got a responsibility to everyone else. And so rather than let everyone go, I kept everyone on and kept paying out of my own pocket. For 6 months, 23 staff is a lot of money. In hindsight, I would have let everyone go, because when you do let everyone go by force in the end, you realize that everyone still hates you anyway, and no one cares about your own personal situation. So in hindsight, I would have let everyone go the time there was even the ruffle of problems approaching. But at the time, I was doing what I thought was the right thing to do. So that was definitely a very tough lesson.
Yeah, that is and 23 is not a small number either. It's not one or two people. And that's a really good example of when you've, I suppose, again, using the data over how you feel about something, an expensive lesson. I completely empathize with that. I think I would probably have done the same thing. But it is one of those things that, whilst we'd like to live in a world where we all support each other, and you going through a rough time would have created some support network from them. Ultimately, you've realised that you've just been paying them for nothing, because they all turned their back on you anyway, and they decided to just go off and and you were the bad guy, I take it at that point. Yeah.
The thing is, as well, when you run a business, you learn very quickly that the second you're paying someone, you're not, like, you might have been friends with someone before. The moment you incorporate into a business and you're paying people and they're relying on you, you just become a corporation. That whole reality that you're still a normal human being disappears. You're just a corporation now. If anything goes awry, they'll be coming back to you with the blame.
Yeah, really good advice.
Yeah, that's the reality of it, really.
So let's take it back again. Did you go to uni?
Yeah, I went to Hertfordshire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What did you study?
Did a Bachelor of Science in Music and Technology.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And so when you came out of uni, is that when you started your journey as a founder, or were you already there? Did you do something alongside your degree?
Whilst I was at uni, I worked as a car salesman 3 days a week. I enjoyed that. I like sales anyway, which you have to do if you're a founder, entrepreneur. I set up a little business doing a bit of marketing, and a bit of stuff around music as well. I'd been a music producer like had record deals, that kind of stuff before then as well.
Oh, really?
So music was my life until university, and weirdly enough, it sucked it all out of me completely, wanting to do music. I started my course thinking this is all going to be music production, this would be great. It wasn't at all. It was all actually engineering, science, mathematics. It's actually a different course now. It's actually a Bachelor of Arts course now where there's more of that. But at the time, they kind of pulled it out of something else. So most of our modules were all about, and I wasn't exceptionally good at maths at school at all. So I remember learning lots of, my lecturers just thinking I was a bit of an idiot when it came to maths, because I was thinking I'd never learned any of these things in my
And you didn't sign up for
school.
that.
Yeah, I didn't sign
You
up for
just
this
wanted
at
to
all.
produce tunes.
But the great thing about that was that then I jumped suddenly to a much higher level of mathematical understanding. I understood like quantum physics and engineering and all these things I'd never been anywhere near at in my school. I was being taught, and I loved it as well. I really, really enjoyed it. And then when I eventually moved over into working in the financial industry, it came back to benefit me. In fact, those skills I learned at university, none of them musical, have benefited me so many times moving forward in my career, actually.
You just don't know, do you? You should just go with it, because you don't know how what you're doing today may seem worthless, but how it's going to benefit.
And you always hear at school people say, well, I'm learning algebra, I'm not going to need this. You don't know what you're going to need.
You don't know. No, good advice. I have a son who's just done his GCSEs, and that's all he said for 3 months flat. Every time he was asked to revise, it's like, I'm not going to need it in the future. Well, we'll see about that. So what's happened to the music production side of things now, just out of interest?
I don't think I've made a song in decades
What type of
now.
music did you produce?
Everything. So garage music, so you can tell my age immediately. Garage music, R&B, hip hop, jazz. I used to like produce and engineer for some jazz musicians. I was in a rock band, played guitar in a rock band, played bass, play all the instruments, sing extremely badly.
I doubt it.
Oh no, right. That should be known anywhere now. Should have been near this microphone now. This is near enough. Yeah, I did all. I mean, I'm really eclectic with music anyway. But the garage and the R&B was like the main thing. But yeah, I did it all from jazz to rock,
You're
everything.
still into music now? Is it some?
I'm a real critic.
Yeah.
I'm a sit at home my armchair critic about music. So I feel like I've got a deep understanding of it. But also, music is very much a young person's thing, because it's you're creating a new culture and you fall out of that culture very quick. You see people have like a #1 album, trying to recreate that again when you're 45 or 50 is very difficult, unless it's just your old fans buying music again.
Yeah, interesting. So somewhere between producing music and shipping paintings all over the globe, there's a chunk of career there. So let's get into that. So you were in financial markets. Was this as your own company, or were you working in banking?
So when I first finished university, I got a job as a recruitment consultant at Huxley Associates, which is S3 in the city. So I worked there for a little while, for maybe like a year. Had some really good guys around me. I wasn't a very good recruiter. I was really wet behind the ears about working in any kind of corporate environment at the time. But funny enough, I did learn loads of how to organize your day there. I'd watched maybe a movie or two about stockbroking. I didn't know what a stockbroker was at all, and just decided I want to be a stockbroker now, which is where the delusion comes in
Yeah.
from.
What was it about the films that made you go, I want to do that? Was it the money, do you think?
Yeah, I think the money was one thing,
Yeah.
and they were just having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I decided I wanted to do it. I wasn't qualified for it at all. Applied for loads of jobs in the city for junior stockbroker roles. Only heard back from one. Applied for another one somewhere else. Ended up getting a job in Frankfurt. Funny enough, at the time, my parents and my family had all moved away for the whole year to be in America, I think it was, or in the Caribbean. And so I was home alone at 21 years old.
Wow.
And just making bad decisions, like turn down a job in London and go work in Germany instead, out of the blue.
Right.
So I had a job offer on Wednesday, flight on Friday. So I went and did that. I was really good at stockbroking. I'd organise my day in the same way that I did in recruitment. Everyone else there was a total mess. I remember not knowing anything about FX, equity, economics at all, asking my bosses, loads of information that now I feel silly to have even asked them about.
If you don't know, you don't know.
Don't know. I did pretty well at that. I was there for about 2.5 years. Came back, took the job I was offered in London, in the city in the end. I always figuring out new ways of making money, and I figured out some good ways of making money at my own desk at that as well. So I remember coming back, being paid peanuts, struggling, bussing it everywhere, living in a complete like ghetto end of London, East London somewhere. I hadn't even been to that part before in my life. Figuring out how to make some money. Suddenly I was moving out of my little 4-person house share, apartment share, and moving to somewhere that was like £5,000 a month in a penthouse within no time, living in Canary Wharf. Because and the thing is, you'll find like in every financial firm where you've got desks, the whole firm is broken up into desks for different things. It might be a desk doing like sterling, or a desk that's doing FX swaps on something else, or equity, whatever it is you're doing. You've got a desk there, and all you care about, focus about, is that particular type of financial product. And it's your job to figure out how you're going to make the most amount of money, how you're going to find that angle that works for you personally. And so I'd done that in that firm, so I was able to go on to other things. Also, not to get too boring about financial stuff, but
It's very interesting.
I'd learned about equity derivatives and how to automate, going back to automation again. So someone I'd met in the city had basically sat me down and explained how you can use an Excel spreadsheet to automate lots of trades. And it was semi-automated at the time. You could plug it into the LSE and that kind of stuff. So this I love this automating stuff. And so I'd learned how to do this, how to generate loads of commission as well with this system, rather than to think about stuff so much. I built this really cool spreadsheet of all of the swaps, all of the equity markets, that was just picking trades for me every day. We'd got to a point towards the end, it was 94% success rate of these trades. And not many other people were doing this. And so I suddenly, for me, and I've never been able to get a job very easily. I put a CV in, I might as well throw it in a bin. Suddenly, my phone is ringing off the hook. Oh, we heard you're doing this equity derivative stuff, and it's automated. Come and have a chat, come and have a chat, come and have a chat. And so I was kind of being pulled left and right. And that's how I started to figure out that actually, you've got to find your own angle in everything. And if you can automate something, then you're going to make a lot of money doing it.
You apologize unnecessarily for the financial stuff. I think it's, even if you're not into that stuff, I find it super interesting. But even if you're not into it, you can apply that methodology to anything. If you can find a way to take some button pressing out of or some calculations out of a process and automate it, then that's where you start to that's where the phone starts to ring, right?
And business is about leverage. Like, you run a business because you want to hire 100 people to do things that maybe you could do, but there's not 100 of you. So if you can leverage it with 100 people doing that job instead, then you're going to be able to generate a lot more revenue for that business. And it was the same thing with this spreadsheet that we created. I can just focus on one financial product. I might focus on the euro versus the dollar, trading in the FTSE 100. That might be my focus. It takes all my day to do it. But in this spreadsheet, I created something that would look at everything. And this might not sound very impressive now, but in like the early 2000s, this was mind-blowing at the time. So it was doing the job of 100 people in one, where we could just pick the best trades without having to do much. And not only are we automating something, we're now able to leverage it, but in derivatives, you're leveraging in the purest sense. You're borrowing of every trade. So you're putting in £100, but you're doing £100,000 trade. You're swallowing the risk of its movement, but you're multiplying what you're doing. And I love that concept: automation, leverage, business. And it's the same with Pidgey. Going back to Pidgey, is that I could only do so many sales myself as a salesperson. So we leveraged it by creating the academy, people to do it everywhere around the world. Maybe I've only got one shipping company that I can work with. Something goes wrong with those guys, I can't use them anymore. So we leverage it with multiple carriers to operate through. And just like how I see trading from a broker's point of view, which is chipping away, making commission, Pidgey again is about making commission. So how can we make this an ultra high transactional business with minimal effort from me and minimal outgoings from the core business, but maximize the amount of revenue? And that's what kind of business Pidgey is.
Yeah. You've got to keep those margins really low, right? So
Yeah.
I'm assuming Pidgey will only work if the volume is very, very high. You
Yeah.
have like lots. I mean, how many transactions would you tend to have on a monthly basis?
I'm not sure monthly, but we've done about 250,000 in total. And yeah, we want to keep our, I mean, our margins just are low anyway, because we're a software business. We don't physically have to hire vans or planes or carry anything anywhere anyway. And in fact, where AI and machine learning have come into play in the back end of it is that before we just had a standard rate of how much we should be charging people, but now based on lots of data points, we're able to use machine learning and AI to make dynamic pricing. So it will, well above my ability to figure it out, it will figure out what the optimal pricing is to most importantly make sure that you as an individual are unlikely to abandon cart. You're more likely to actually complete that transaction. It might be that actually, you get charged loads more than someone else, but sometimes things sound too cheap to you based on your own profile as well. Or it might be that, like if you're an e-commerce user, you're very, very cost aware. Things need to be kept cheap for you, otherwise you won't use it. So using those data points automatically, again, we're able to optimize how many transactions are actually completed.
When you were doing the FS and you had your spreadsheet, and it sounds like I can kind of picture it in my mind, and I've got this picture of you just being like laser focused all of the time and almost kind of obsessive about this thing. And how was your life outside of work with that? Oh, am I completely off the mark and you were just totally chill?
I don't tend to get into my feelings too much about things, so I was pretty chill. I know people geek out on Excel spreadsheets, and it seems like an old redundant technology nowadays, but it's one of the best things ever invented. It's made many a millionaire, many billionaires have made the back of it. So I did used to obsess over it, like really deeply. And I still do now, except for now you can use ChatGPT to get things done a lot quicker as well with it. So I still obsess over it. But in my personal life outside of that, I was just living a normal life depending on what I could afford. So on the periods of time where my bank balance was low, when I had to like rebuild myself in London again, I was just existing really, just doing the usual stuff, go out with my boss on a Friday night, usual life story really. But then when I started to make lots of money in the business, funny thing is, I wouldn't consider myself a money motivated person at all. I'm much more likely to give money away to people than actually spend it on. I've made some silly purchases in the past as kind of like a passage of rights type stuff. But generally, if someone said to me, here, have £1 million and just go away into the sunset, we're going to give you a spreadsheet where you can make £100 million and change some things, I'd probably stick with the spreadsheet. I'm that kind of person. I like geeking out on stuff. So
Yeah. So you managed to keep your personal life and work quite separate, or is that something that is a challenge for you?
you do have friends, people you work with become friends. I've still got lots of those same friends now from like 20 years ago, from a long time ago. So most of the friendships I've managed to sustain, even in different capacities. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna become friends with your colleagues, but I'm not sure if it's impossible to keep them separate.
Yeah. And what kind of sacrifices have you had to make, or if any, to be a serial founder, entrepreneur?
Going back to validation again, you have to appreciate that when business is not going well, everyone thinks you're a loser. And you have to just
Take
accept
that on the
that and
chin.
move. Yeah, just got to take on the chin and move on. And then when things do go well for you, everyone thinks, he's just lucky. They always always land on their feet like a cat. And no one appreciates all the sacrifices, the risks you're doing on either side of it. So you have to just accept that and kind of live with it. And even people who are near to you or far from you, if they're not in that mindset, they're still never going to understand that. So you have to kind of take that social sacrifice first of all. But on the flip side of that is that because you really enjoy what you're doing passionately, it never feels like work. You could spend 24 hours a day doing it or thinking about it, and it doesn't feel like work. When you work for someone else, chances are it's going to feel like work. That's the reality.
Yeah, I think that's just it's the whole kind of getting up with an alarm, going out to work, going into someone else's office, or using someone else's tech stack, and then waiting for your payslip to come at the end of the month. It's definitely that whole scenario creates that impression that you almost belong to someone else, essentially, from a work perspective.
Yeah, I mean, we tell ourselves our own lies and our own reality. So if that's what you're doing, you're telling yourself, oh yeah, my business does this, my business does that, but it's not your business, it's someone else's business. But you're telling yourself, yeah, we do this, we do that. Same way as if you support a football team, we won this, we won that, but you're not on the pitch. You don't, even if you are on the pitch, you don't own the thing. So on the flip side of that, an entrepreneur does own it, but it has a high chance of being worth nothing. Not paying your bills or not putting a roof over your head.
There's no payslip. Yeah,
Yeah, there's no
exactly.
payslip,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's the trade-off. That's why some people do and some people don't. And there's no kind of right or wrong. You know, some people, especially after speaking to you, and you put 7 on the table as an age to start your founder journey. If anyone wants to come in and beat Leroy at 7, they're very welcome to do so. But you know, it's starting to make me think that the day that you were born, there was something in your wiring that was kind of set out. Now, obviously, circumstances happen, and there are probably millions of people in corporate jobs right now that could have had a similar journey, but have just taken a different path, and that's life.
It could have been me.
It could, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm sure that they could have chosen entrepreneurship and had nothing and kept failing businesses and actually now they're in corporate jobs that are paying very well and they have a very nice life. So I don't think there's either right or wrong, but I definitely think there's something different.
And the funny thing is about that is that I'm in lots of founder communities, and lots of founders I know who have done really, really well, really struggle to get a job back in like any kind of, not just corporate, but any kind of job, because in a corporate business, you are a cog, which is not a criticism, but you are a cog in that machine, and people need to understand what cog you are. And if your background, your resume is that you're a founder, which means you're actually doing everything. At some point, you've done everything in that business. You understand it really well. Sure, there'll be practitioners who are not jack of all trades, who understand some specific things far better than you. But you actually, if used correctly, you're of a massive value to a corporate business, because your vision, your understanding of how all things come together and interact is going to be much more superior to someone else who just knows one particular thing. So it's a real shame that so many founders or former founders or exited founders struggle to get back into, because there's no reason why they shouldn't. I know the stereotype is that, oh, but if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to just leave after a while because that's just who you are. And that's not true at all. Like you just said, there are lots of entrepreneurs lots of would-be entrepreneurs who've actually just done a corporate job their whole life because that's the way the cookie crumbled. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs who could flip back into a corporate job with the opportunity to do so as well.
Definitely. I too was in recruitment, and it was definitely a stigma around people that had previously had their own businesses coming looking for work. I'm not actually sure why. I don't know what it is. There's some sort of like unconscious bias that makes you put their CV to one side. And I would urge all businesses to welcome, exited founders into their business, because they will bring, as you say, a completely different dimension and a certain diversity that
goes back to validation again. One of the reasons I think the recruiters are doing that, and I did the same thing as well as a recruiter, is because they need to get validation that you've got a big logo on your CV, that you worked at a big company. If they say you were good enough to do it, therefore you must be good enough to do it. But if only you are saying you're good enough to do it, even if you doing it yourself made millions of pounds, something that it's very unlikely someone who, if they even worked at Google or Facebook as one cog, would be able to do. No, it's not right for us. We're going to go with that validation instead.
I've never really thought about it so much, but that is madness.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are where we are. Is Pidgey the one business now? Are you doing anything else? Are you full-time Pidgey?
Yeah, I'm full-time Pidgey. I'm always helping and doing bits and pieces of other people wherever I can be of use. But yeah, Pidgey's my passion.
And so the team now at Pidgey, how does that look? What sort of size team?
We've got about 9 people in the core team. We have over 300 remote salespeople around the world.
Really interesting model.
Yeah. And we've had a couple of additions to the team who are super, super experienced. We've got the former managing director of UPS. We've got
wow,
basically the inventor of the multi-carrier API is on our team as well now. So we've got some super, and I think it tells you when people who know the industry that deeply say, right, we're going to risk our future on this particular business, that they see something that there really is going to be a lot of change and money made in it.
Yeah. And you mentioned someone had gone into a shop and asked the merchant to download Pidgey. Did that change the fact that you were pointing all of your marketing and everything on the B2B side? Do you still do anything that's going to drive customers to want to use the product as well?
So we try to always be 90% B2B, 10% tourists to know about it as well. Tourists are individually maybe more excited because you go to a new location, you don't know that city, you want to buy a particular thing, you don't know where, you can just go on the Pidgey app and search for a product and it will show you everyone in your area who's selling it. Or you'll be in a shop and someone's telling you this is £100. You say, I'm sure I can get this cheaper. Type it into the app. Oh, well, someone else selling it for £80. Do you want to sell it to me for £80? Should I go there? It gives you a bit of buying power so it's really good in that way. Merchants, you're trying to capture their attention because they're busy every day. They are already doing it in the way they're used to doing it, that, as far as they're concerned, pretty much works for them. So whenever a customer does go in, they have a lot more interest in doing it because you're coming with like, I just want to give you some money, please, but just use this and I'll give you some money. So they're much more excited that way, which is why our salespeople actually help them with their first few transactions every time as well. But yeah, we are still more B2B focused. Yeah, that's what we do.
I can just imagine that I'll be sat there watching TV one night and I can imagine seeing a TV advert for Pidgey so that people kind of really get involved in the, this is a fantastic thing because I can see, as you say, it's very attractive to somebody that is, particularly if they don't really know where they are. I was in Kenya and needed to locate something, so I wish I'd have known about the product then because I think I probably would have. I needed some flowers, so it would have been a good addition, I think, to my app.
And we do operate in the whole of Africa as well. There's one thing we found is that the merchants, lots of them use M-Pesa, which you would have heard of in Kenya, and not many payment systems allow you to accept M-Pesa, but we allow people to accept pretty much any way you need to receive money. You can receive it through Pidgey. So we want to make sure that you've got access to proving you're going to send it, everything's insured, and you as a merchant can receive your money as well. So yeah, Africa, you can use it. We've got some e-commerce people in Africa. We've got some people who create statues in Kenya specifically as well, who send things, and in Uganda and in Morocco and in South Africa. And in fact, when I say about my motivation, it's not being about money so much. The one great thing about the way we distribute Pidgey with these freelance salespeople, it's that you can, in lots of countries, people are making $300 a month, and it's fine because it fits their cost of living where they are. You can make $3,000 or $10,000 as a salesperson at Pidgey by just building up your market. It's almost like how Avon used to be, but you can build up your market. You can make a hell of a lot of money doing this. And I like the fact that someone in an emerging market whose top opportunity was to make $300 a month can now make $3,000 a month, very realistically. And it was, for me, like me as a stockbroker, I wasn't qualified to go and be a stockbroker at all, but I was given a chance to go and make a lot of money, so therefore I did it. And I've recreated that with our salespeople in Pidgey. Here's the skills you need. Here's a chance. No one's going to give it to you, but if you just deep dive, focus, go out and work for it, you're going to make 10 times as much money by doing it. And I like that about this business.
Do your salespeople get to spend some time with you every now and again?
I do turn up in places. I need to go to South Africa. I haven't been again. Yeah, I need to go there and actually spend proper time there. People in Indonesia have seen a lot of me. Malaysia have seen a lot of me as well. And we partnered with some hotels in Canada because we're on CDL, which is an accelerator in Canada. So we partnered with some hotels out there now as well, which is really cool. I do like to travel still. So if I can go and spend a week somewhere, I'll always set up like a couple of days in a space for sales training, and then out in the markets, we'll go out and do some sales training as well. Because it's weird. Before I started Pidgey, I forgot that I even enjoyed sales, and then when I started to do it, all the old tricks and lessons you've learned in the past just came washing back. And I actually really, really enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't do anything else. I absolutely love it. I love the science of it. I think it's a brilliant career choice. And I'm sure that the guys that are working for you in sales would really be motivated and driven just by your story and that can-do attitude, and that there aren't any barriers attitude that you have. If they can just get a little bit of that, particularly if they're in markets where they've been told they're only ever going to amount to one thing or another, I think you could unlock even mentally some doors for them, which I think could be, again, that kind of, you mentioned about giving back. So
And you discover when you're onboarding new salespeople and you spend some time talking with them, you get some salespeople where you think, if this person was in London, they would be absolutely killing it right now. They'll be killing it, but I do like giving them the opportunity. And sometimes you feel a bit, maybe not guilty is not the right word, but maybe your product's not quite where it needs to be. And there's some people that we've hired as salespeople who I thought they're going to do really well in this, but we weren't quite in the right space for their location where they were, being able to support them adequately enough as well. But you hope that they'll come back actually in the future when you are ready to go. And people who might have started with Pidgey sales, stopped for a while, they quite often miraculously come back again. Hey, Leroy, look, can I get started again, please? I want to go and operate in this market here. I'm like, yeah, sure, here you go. Here's the tools you need. Go out and start working again. Yeah.
I get the impression that you're only just kind of getting started. So what's next for you and the business?
I want to get up to having like over 1,000 salespeople. We've got loads in South Africa already. I really want to take over a few other, I don't even want to name them actually, but a few other markets I want to take over. I just think they're a real gold mine that's sat there. I want us to go more multilingual. You can use our app and all our stuff in every language, but when it comes to the sales academy training side, if you don't speak English, I can't train you. So therefore, I want to start to onboard some sales trainers who are Spanish speakers, especially Spanish, but who are Arab speakers as well, to be able to really train those people in those markets more effectively. But there's tons and tons more to do as far as like how many multi-carriers we have in our system, how we test and improve our systems and our costings and everything else. There's tons and tons of work to do. We're actually a bootstrapped business. So we're working at the pace of a bootstrap business. If we had like a round and money to spend, we'd be going 10 times quicker than we are.
Is that not something that's on the cards then for you?
I've never felt like I've really had access to investment money, to be honest with you. No matter how many times I exit and make money and make things work, I never really seem to have access to capital. And it is frustrating because you see like 19-year-olds who went to the right school with the right background, raise money like this. And I sit next to them sometimes, I see them do it and they mess it up completely. And no one seems to shudder about it. Then they go back and raise more money again because their signals were the right signals apparently. But it is what it is. That you're given the cards that you're dealt. It's not enough to stop me. I'm a bit of an extremist about that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what you've given me to play with, I'm still going to make it work. Like nothing can stop me. That's how I see things. So yeah, I don't mind. Even if it, like I said about sometimes you feel like a bit of a loser because when things are not going as quick as they should be and people are judging you. But because I don't need their validation, I deeply don't care. It's what's really happening.
I love the insertion of the word deeply there. I deeply don't care. I believe you so much.
Yeah, I deeply don't.
That's something that I think if we as founders or as people, if we could try and hone that level of deeply not caring about things, I think everyone would just go faster and we could all do so much more. But I've been very guilty of being completely like blindsided by what people think of me and what the market's going to think or what the world or what LinkedIn. Oh, God forbid, what on earth is LinkedIn going to think? And actually removing that noise, I think, is something that just make people so much more successful.
Yeah.
So I
Thinking
love that you've
less.
got that. I love that your brain works in that way. It's probably counts for a lot of the successes that you've had.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I mean, in this experience, I've had more thoughts to have to fight than probably, or maybe just, you know what it is actually? It's like, I've never given birth, but I expect it's like giving birth where you go through this traumatic experience and then years later you pretty much forget about it and go, I'll do it again, have another kid. And that's what a startup is like. You have a really traumatic experience and then you forget how emotionally traumatic it was and you just go again. But the thing you do remember is that it was traumatic then, but you're still here. So tomorrow is still going to come. You're still going to be here fighting. It's actually the quitting. I shouldn't say I hate quitters, but I hate quitting, that's for sure. The idea of quitting never even crosses my mind. Pivot until it works. Never quit.
There's your line. Everyone has a line of this show where I just take something from it and Pivot, 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 I think is gonna be it's gonna be your line.
I sound like Ross from Friends.
Ross and Friends, absolutely, absolutely. And whilst we're talking about such wonderful words of wisdom, let's finish on some pointers for listeners. I'm sure that everybody is still listening because it's been such a fantastic story, and I know I've really enjoyed it. What are the things that you would pass on to somebody who is on a similar journey or wanted to be on a similar journey? What are the key things that you think could help to make them successful and avoid some pitfalls?
It is great to have people with experience around you, but they don't need to believe in what you're doing necessarily. But they're great to be able to go to and ask questions about stuff. If you're a first-time founder, especially, if you're going to spend some money on something that could be mission critical to what you're doing, don't do it unless you go and speak to someone else who's been there and done that and get their advice. It will save you a hell of a lot of money. It will potentially save your business. That's the first thing I would say. And in fact, with those decisions, don't be afraid to be, I'm not sure if I can swear, but don't be afraid about things sometimes. Don't be the yes man. Just like, you've got to think a little bit selfishly. You want this business to work. People are now depending on you. Don't go and be a yes man. Don't go and try and find an easy way to everything. Everything that is instrumental to your business working, go out and just do it slowly first. Like, test it out, see all the mechanics that it works in a slow way, and then figure out how you can recreate it and leverage it and multiply it in a more efficient way. But this is how I work anyway. I do it the slow way first to test the model, and then I try and put it on steroids. Sometimes people just do the steroid bit without the testing it, and then all goes so quickly, you throw money into it, you don't understand why it's not working, you can't figure it out, you've got no real view of it. And I say that, those are two of the important things in making things work.
That validation and then replacing that with the data, which is what you did, and then is a replacement as well, because once you've got the data, arguably you don't really need the validation anymore. So that's where you can potentially be a little bit more and go, no, I'm just going to go for it anyway because the data's pointing me, and it's not always correct, it might go wrong, but I think if you've got enough data points, and I think it seems like you worked super hard in the early days to do that bit and get the data, and I'm sure that wasn't very lucrative for you.
With the sales academy, I think I was doing about 12 calls a day, interviewing individuals every single time. And then as I'm speaking to them, telling them about the opportunity, I'm looking them very closely in the eye and seeing what their reactions are. How are they responding to what I'm saying? Is it motivating them or is it demotivating them? And then I was penning down which bits to keep, which bits not to keep. And then bit by bit over the weeks and months, I was creating a better script of, okay, this is the offering that works now. I don't need to worry anymore. I know if I just offer this, a lot of people will want to do it compared to my initial offering, which I kind of made up, which would have failed. And I just didn't mind doing those hard yards to figure it out.
Yeah, so cool. Really amazing chat. The time has just completely flown by. I have no idea how long we've been talking for, but I'm just conscious that it's probably been a very long time and you probably need to get back to work. But look, thank you so much. I think I would be very, very surprised if, there weren't a few people that would love to link in with you and connect with you. So hopefully that would be okay.
Welcome to.
I will certainly be downloading the app and will definitely be a user, and really look forward to following your journey as a founder as well, and seeing this business get to wherever it needs to get to. And I love the fact that vision is to grow and help more salespeople and to help people come into what is a great career rather than, I just want to exit in a year's time. So it looks like we'll be following you around for a little while yet. Thank you so much for talking to us. Thanks, Leroy.
Great. Thanks for having me.